The grand ballroom glittered under crystal chandeliers, filled with ladies in silk gowns and gentlemen in polished suits. The annual Winterbourne Charity Ball was the most talked-about event of the season, where the wealthy gathered to show off their jewels and their generosity. And then there was me, Lila Carter, the orphan girl from St. Agnes's Home for Girls, brought in to add a touch of charity to the evening. Mrs. Whitmore, the event organizer, had arranged for a few of us to stand near the entrance in our plain gray dresses, holding little silver donation boxes. "Smile, girls," she had instructed. "These fine people like to see where their money goes," so I stood there, forcing a smile as guests dropped coins into my box, some with pitying glances, others barely noticing me at all. A few even wrinkled their noses as if the scent of the orphanage still clung to me. I was used to it. Then the murmurs began. "The Duke of Marlowe is here." A hush fell over the crowd as the guest of honor arrived, a tall, stern-faced man with dark hair and sharp eyes. The Duke of Marlowe was known for his wealth, his influence, and most of all, his tragic past. Trenti. Years ago, his younger sister had disappeared without a trace. Some said she had been kidnapped. Others whispered she had run away. The Duke had never stopped searching. I watched him from across the room, feeling a strange pull in my chest. There was something familiar about him, though I couldn't place it. Then, as he moved through the crowd, his gaze landed on me, and he froze. His face went pale. His breath caught. For a moment, the entire ballroom seemed to disappear as he stared at me like I was a ghost. I clutched my donation box tighter, unsure what was happening. Had I done something wrong? Then, in front of everyone, the Duke of Marlowe, the most powerful man in the room, took a shaky step toward me. "Lillian?" His voice was barely a whisper. My heart stopped. Lillian. That name. My name. The one I hadn't heard in 10 years. The one I had almost forgotten. Memories rushed back in fragments. A grand house. A brother who carried me on his shoulders. A stormy night when everything went wrong. I had been so young when I was taken. So lost. The orphanage had called me Lila because the name on my tattered dress was half faded, and now here he was. "Alexander?" I whispered back. His eyes filled with tears. In an instant, he closed the distance between us and took my face in his hands, searching my features as if he couldn't believe I was real. "It's you," he choked out. "My God, it's really you." Then, to the shock of everyone in the room, the Duke of Marlowe, a man known for his cold composure, broke down in tears and pulled me into his arms. The whispers exploded around us. "That orphan girl, she's his sister? The missing Marlowe heir?" But I didn't care about any of them, because for the first time in 10 years, I was home. The rest of the story. That night, Alexander refused to let me out of his sight. He demanded answers from Mrs. Whitmore, who stammered that I had been brought to St. Agnes's as a lost child with no memory of my past. "She was found wandering near the docks," she said nervously. "No one knew who she was." Alexander's grip on my hand tightened. "She was stolen," he said, his voice trembling with fury. "And I will find out who did this." The carriage ride to Marlowe Manor was a blur. I stared out the window, my heart pounding as we passed through grand iron gates and up a long, tree-lined drive. And then I saw it. The house from my dreams. "You remember?" Alexander said softly, watching my face. I nodded, tears spilling over. I remember the gardens and the swing by the oak tree. He let out a shaky breath. "You used to beg me to push you higher, even though Mother scolded us for it." A sob escaped me. I remembered that too. Inside, the grand halls of Marlowe Manor stretched before us, their polished floors reflecting the flickering candlelight. The staff, stiff in their uniforms, stood frozen in place as Alexander led me through the entrance, his arm tight around my shoulders. Their eyes followed us, wide with disbelief. A few whispered behind their hands, but I barely heard them. All I could focus on was the warmth of my brother's grip, as if he thought I might disappear if he let go even for a second. We passed portraits lining the walls, and my breath caught when I saw one of a little girl in a white dress, golden curls spilling over her shoulders. Me. Before the world had taken me away, Alexander noticed me staring. Father had that painted. The summer before. His voice cracked, and he didn't finish. I reached for his hand, squeezing it. He squeezed back, hard. Then he led me upstairs, down a hallway lined with doors, stopping at the very end. With a deep breath, he turned the handle. "Your room," he said softly, "just as you left it." The scent of lavender and old books drifted out as the door creaked open, and there it was. A child's room frozen in time. A lace-canopied bed, its covers still neatly turned down. Dolls perched on a shelf, their porcelain faces dusty but smiling. A small wooden horse, its paint chipped from being loved too much. My chest ached. I stepped inside, my fingers trailing over the dressing table where a hairbrush and a few faded ribbons lay. Pink ones. I had loved pink. "You kept it all," I whispered. Alexander leaned against the door frame, his throat working. Mother couldn't bear to change a thing. After she died, neither could I. A sob rose in my throat. I picked up one of the ribbons, the silk fraying with age. It still smelled faintly of rosewater. Then Alexander was beside me, sinking. To his knees like his legs could no longer hold him. His hands trembled as he took mine. "Every year on your birthday, I'd come in here. I'd promise you, wherever you were, that I was still looking." Tears blurred my vision. "You never gave up on me." He pressed his forehead to our clasped hands. "Never." That night, for the first time in years, I slept in my own bed, the one I'd been stolen from. The sheets were crisp with age, but the pillows still held the faintest whisper of childhood. Outside, the wind rustled the same oak tree I used to watch from this very window. I expected nightmares, but none came. When I woke, dawn was just breaking, painting the room in pale gold. And there, in the armchair beside me, Alexander sat, still in his rumpled evening clothes, as if he hadn't moved all night. His eyes opened the moment I stirred. "You're still here," I said, my voice thick with sleep. He reached out, tucking a loose strand of hair behind my ear, just like he used to when I was small. Always will be. And for the first time in a decade, I was home. Really home.